Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. Geno Auriemma, I said recently, doesn't seem like the same coach I remember him being. It might have to do with he's getting older, he's been coaching for so long, the passion's not there, or he hasn't won a championship so long, he doesn't remember how to be. But I don't recall a time when Geno seemed, I don't know, almost like you don't quite know what he's saying. When it comes to Paige Buecker, for example, which I want to talk about today, and some comments he made. But when he's been asked about her halftime, after games, sometimes he seems like he's saying he wants her to be more forceful. Sometimes it seems like he's saying she needs to just let the game come to her. So maybe she's confused because maybe he's confused. I just know that he doesn't have that fire, that clarity that I remember from the epic battles with my fave coach, Pat Summitt of the Tennessee Lady Vols. But now he says something that makes me wonder if Geno believes that he has what it takes right now, or that his team has what it takes right now. Earlier in the WNBA season, when he was commenting on how delusional Caitlin Clark's fans were to think that she could actually get the job done and excel in the WNBA, and that her fans were basically stupid and they were delusional and they actually think she could possibly be in the MVP category. And then he went into Paige, and she's not physical enough, and that she wasn't ready for the WNBA either. And he said then that he encourages her every chance he gets, basically, to stay for another year, which obviously she did because she's there now. But he encouraged her to stay for another year, and he used this right here to make his case.
When Paige Buecker said she was coming back, you said what?
I said I knew that. She's having too good a time here. Her impact here is so great. Her impact nationally is great. And she doesn't want to be known as the greatest player ever to play at UConn without winning a national championship. And I remind her that every day.
Does she have the build to play?
Okay, you guys heard it, and you probably have heard it many times, because people play that right along with his comments that I'm still waiting on him to retract, that Caitlin Clark was basically not going to be able to do what she did in college, wasn't going to be able to succeed, she's on the wrong team, she's just not ready. And, there are levels to this thing, to quote Diana Taurasi. He never came back and backed it up. But anyway, you heard right there what he was using to keep Paige Buecker's, or to encourage Paige Buecker's to stay at UConn. It's all about a championship, right? You don't want to be that player who never got a championship, because that's not good, right? Well, listen to what he has to say now. And what does this mean about what he thinks about his chances come March? I'm over here on X, on Ken Swift's X account, and he's sharing from an account called EA.
This notion that you have to win a national championship or multiple national championships in order to be considered, a generational type player, an amazing type player. There are a lot of great players that have had amazing careers that have never won a national championship, that have never been to a Final Four. Okay. So, you can't use that as a gauge for where she would be. You can just I think, use my thought process is, how much did she dominate the college basketball world during the 4 years that she played here? And if you took her off our team, how many Final Fours would we have made?
Yeah.
How many national championship games would we have played in? You know, what opportunities would we have if she wasn't on our team?
Yeah. And she's carried you.
And how many great All-Americans that she played with? I don't say this, but I think the number is 0.
Very, very interesting how that has changed. First, he was using the championship to get Paige to stay. Now he's saying that the championship isn't what defines you. Does this really have to do with him changing his mindset about what it takes to be considered a generational talent? Or is he changing his mindset because he's looking at the landscape? He's not feeling UConn's chances. Maybe he's not even the Geno he used to be, who could coach his players to a certain level. What is it that now, after we gotten an opportunity to see them play, it's January now, over halfway through January, and now it's not so important for Paige to be a champion, that doesn't define her. Whereas before, hey, Paige, you stay here because, you know, I want to try to get another championship, and I see you as the way to get that done. Now, we could have a whole conversation. I could bring on a bunch of guests, and we could really talk about if what he's saying is right. I mean, do you have to have a championship? Some of the people have said that about Caitlin Clark. Well, she's not one of the greatest, or she's not a GOAT, all that, because she didn't win a national title. And they totally disregard the fact that, just what even he said, how many All-Americans did she play with? They totally disregard the fact that what Caitlin did was take a team that wasn't stacked like Geno's used to, wasn't stacked like Dawn Staley's used to, and got them to not just the Final Four, but the championship game 2 years in a row. Sorry if you hear a bang, bang. When I hit the mic, that's what it does. And I keep hitting the mic. So now that's not really necessary. Like I said, we can have a whole conversation about whether he's right. Is that even really necessary? I'm sure there's an argument to be made on both sides. My point is that, why now? Why is he changing that now? Paige stayed, like he was trying to get her to stay and telling her the same thing over and over again about a championship. She stayed, and now it's not all that important, and he gives us an over a minute speech about that. I'm wondering if it's just that he's seeing the handwriting on the walls, thinking, I don't think we're going to get one, so let me get out ahead of it and say, as Paige moves on, hopefully she's not staying another year. I've done a couple of videos on that, but let me get out ahead of it and say, hey, Paige is still generational talent. Paige is still a GOAT. Paige is still, thumbs up. Paige is still all that in a bag of chips, even though she didn't win a championship. Is he conceding that UConn ain't winning the championship this year? Is that what this coach is saying? Is that the message that he's sending to his players and to everyone else? We're not winning the championship this year. Is he conceding and saying it's not necessary and it's not going to happen? And you know what? Just so you know, Paige is still a generational talent. Is that what Geno is saying? Like I said, this isn't the Geno I remember, so maybe I'm not reading him right. You tell me what that sounds like to you, to go from one to the other. Why now? Love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. I will catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.